Hello, good evening. Welcome to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studios here at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra. My name is Selorm. Adonoo. Tonight I'm here with
Shika Caesar.
Coming up over the next 90 minutes.
I therefore challenge him to prove beyond reasonable doubt claims I was either promoting or engaging in illegal mining, or I'll use available legal means to protect my hard-won reputation. Until proven otherwise, I urge all to treat the claims of Professor Kumawu with the contempt it deserves.
More reactions from that report authored by former Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining Chair Professor Frimpong Boateng, which pointed to high-level complicity in the fight against galamsey, as some of the so-called troublemakers in the fight refute the claims by the former minister. We bring you more details and more reaction on same. Still on Eyewitness News, NDC issues statement on IGP's meeting with the two political parties, NDC and MPP, over recent comments by Minister of Food and Agriculture, Brian A. Champon. The NDC is on Eyewitness News tonight. And later, MPP hosts primaries this Sunday ahead of Kumawu by-election. We'll be live in Kumawu. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on this and other stories on Eyewitness News and in business.
Government urged to invest in renewable energy solutions to ensure energy security.
There is more business later on in the bulletin. Eyewitness News is live across the country on all our affiliates and around the globe at citynewsroom.com. Your comments are welcome via our WhatsApp line 0549 986 996. Your comment, or you can also follow me on Twitter at Selorm. Adonoo. The hashtag, as always, is Citi Newsroom. All right, so we've been having quite a number of reactions pouring in on that report authored by Frimpong Boateng, professor, who chaired the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining in respect of his work and then what challenges he encountered. Reading the 37-page report, it was quite clear, at least for now, allegedly, that there was high-level complicity in the fight against galamsey. And a lot of the things the former minister and former chair of the committee, I had to say, bordered on the fact that many high-placing individuals in government, persons with influence, had one thing or the other to do with the fight. And that hamstrung him to the extent that he could not really do the job, as expected, even though in the report he pats himself in the back and says that he thinks that the committee chaired by him did a good job. He also went ahead to say that a lot of the ministers, or some of the ministers who were part, about 10 or 11 ministers, who were part of that interministerial committee, abandoned their work. And so it meant that there were just a few of them who were doing the work. As time goes on in this bulletin, we will bring to you specific portions and names and allegations that he has made in this official report to the chief of staff who ordered the report. But in the meantime, let's do an interview with the director of operations at the presidency, Mr. Lord Commey. In the meantime, Mr. Lord Commey is issued a statement, and my colleague Samir Afe is in the studio. We want him to give us just a snapshot of what Lord Commey has been saying. Then we can ask him for specifics. Samir, welcome to the program. What exactly has Lord Commey been saying?
Thank you very much, Selorm. Lord Commey has been reacting to the portions of the Professor Frimpong Boateng's report that more or less mentioned him or implicated him. So when you look at the whole report, page 12, some of the challenges the committee chaired by Professor Frimpong Boateng said encountered was one of them was that throughout our struggle with illegalities in the small-scale mining sector, what baffled me was the total disregard of the president's commitment to protect the environment. I can state without any equivocation that many party officials from the national to the unit committee had their friends, relatives, or PAs involved in them. Most of them engaged Chinese in working for them. I'm not referring to the party people who had legitimate concessions to work on. There were appointees. This is a catch, Selorm. There were appointees at the Jubilee House that are doing or supporting illegal mining or interfering with the fight against the miners. That's where he mentioned the name of Mr. Lord Commey, the Director of Operations at the Jubilee House, Charles Nite Tego, who is also at the Jubilee House, and Frank Esiedu Bequin, also known as Protozua, who is also stationed at the Jubilee House. So because of this particular one, Lord Commey not too long ago issued a statement reacting to what Professor Frimpong Boateng stated in the report. And it says, my attention has been drawn to a 37-page report purported to have been written by the former Minister of Science and Technology, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, who was chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. The report, said to have been submitted to the Chief of Staff, cites me as an example of persons supporting or engaging in illegal mining. And he quotes portion of this particular report, which Professor Frimpong Boateng made public. And Lord Commey says, for purposes of setting the record straight, I wish to state without shred of doubt that I have never engaged or supported illegal mining as contained in the said report. There is no point before, during, and after the appointment of the said minister have I called, text, or even assigned anyone to seek favor in respect of engaging illegal mining to warrant these unsubstantiated allegations against me. I therefore challenge him to prove beyond reasonable doubt claims I was either promoting or engaging in illegal mining, or I'll use available legal means to protect my hard-won reputation. Until proven otherwise, I urge all to treat the claims of Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng with the contempt it deserves. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Lord Commey, Director of Operations at the Jubilee House.
All right. Thanks so much, Samiri Afe. Just hold on there. Let me speak to Lord Commey himself and take some further thoughts on him on this matter. Hello, good evening, sir. Welcome to Eyewitness. This is quite an interesting and important report coming at such a crucial time for the fight against Galamsey. And here you are, prominently featured in this report as one of those who supported illegal mining or interfered with the fight against the menace. Obviously, I've heard your written response, or we've seen your written response. But, what else do you have to say about this particular one? Your name has been mentioned. What else do you have to say about this particular report?
First of all, Selorm, good evening to you and to your cherished listeners. It's interesting that I'm told that this report was submitted in 2021. And nobody has called my attention to it. Very interesting indeed. And it's not something that would have even dignified it with the response. So seriously, I really doubt whether indeed Professor Frimpong Boateng wrote that. And granted that he wrote that, whether he's in his right frame of mind. Because this is a minister that I have never spoken to him before in my life. You heard it. And I wish you could put him online.
You've never spoken to Professor Frimpong Boateng ever in your life?
Professor Frimpong Boateng in my life. You
not as minister responsible for the sector, or never?
I have been national organizer of this party for years. Okay? When I knew him, all through to becoming a minister of state and thereafter. Never ever have I spoken to him in my life. So I don't know what he's talking about. In any case, which of them is he tagging me with? That I'm the frontal person, or I am the influencer or interfering person, or that I am the main person? It's ridiculous. Okay? And in fact, he should not play on the minds of Ghanaians. This is a whole professor, okay, highly respected in the Ghanaian society, that the president gives you a tax, okay, and a huge tax as one. What did I hear you read? That he was trying to accuse the president of total disregard? For goodness sake. Well, was he the one who advised the president to set up an interministerial committee in the first place? For him to now call it total disregard. The man who sets the committee up, if he were not serious and didn't mean it, he would have set it up and appointed you. The president had some serious confidence in you. That is why he put you there. You failed. And instead of bowing down your heads in shame and accepting the responsibility, you try to throw names around. I am not part of the names that he's going to throw around.
But just to correct this, I'm not sure he accuses the president of disregarding his own directive. What he's actually saying is that people in the party or people in government, influential people, disregard the pronouncement and wishes of the president.
Who is more influential than him? Okay, as a minister of state, a cabinet minister of that nature, heading an interministerial committee means that there are other cabinet ministers with he as chairman.
Other cabinet ministers, he said, abandoned their role and left himself and a few others to do the work.
They can respond for themselves. I have been director of operations since 2017. Okay, when the president set this committee up. Okay, the president in his own wisdom thought that he wouldn't want to add his director of operations to this committee. And so be it. Never ever. Okay? And I repeat it, never ever. In any case, I heard about some 2-3 weeks ago that he was throwing some wild accusations around, and the president had asked the CID headquarters to investigate that. Okay, so he should go there and face it. And then if he has the balls to mention my name, I would meet him there. Okay, he has to prove beyond reasonable doubts. I am not the type that people can just run around throwing my name around and get away with it. Especially so far as that his terms of reference of managing this whole very important operation is concerned. I am not part of it. I couldn't have been part of it, and he should come again. Honestly, I have a lot of respect for him, but in this one, I think he goofed, and he owes the Ghanaian people an apology. I would not speak for anyone. I speak for myself.
I see, but for many, is it not curious that of all of the number of people in government, your name comes up as one of the very few who got mentioned in this report? Doesn't that
he said amongst others? Mm-hmm. Is that what I heard from you?
So, I mean, let me take that paragraph again. I am not referring to party people who had their legitimate concession and were mining sustainably as they were instructed to do. There are appointees in the Jubilee House that are doing or supporting illegal mining or interfering with the fight against the menace. Examples are Lord Commey, your name came first, Charles Niteko, and Frank Asiedu Bequin, also known as Protozua. So your name comes up, and
so he gave examples.
Yes.
Okay, and therefore probably means that there are many people in his mind that he wants to mention.
If the order is anything to go by, I mean, sometimes it's the most prominent that comes first. So it means that amongst the names that are mentioned, you are very prominent.
The name Lord Commey is prominent.
And your role, and perhaps your role in this allegation as well.
Lord Commey is an old name in Ghana's political structure since 1992. So yes, it's a prominent name. But that's why I asked whether indeed he was in his right frame of mind. Somebody I've not even spoken. You heard what I told you. I said I've not spoken to Professor Frimpong Boateng in my life.
But Mr. Commey, you don't need to speak to him to interfere allegedly or to support illegal mining.
He's talking about influence.
Yes, okay? But you don't need to wait. It's not here. When we get him, we'll put those to him. But you don't need to know somebody to influence a person. You can influence a person through other people. You can interfere in a process, not by yourself and him, but you can do that through other means. So the fact that you've never spoken to him ever in your life does not necessarily exculpate you from this allegation. The point he's making is that you support illegal mining and you interfere with the fight against the menace. It could take many forms.
Excellent. And that is why he should come again. Okay, but which is what I told you. He needs to come again and then be clear in what he wants to say.
Very well. I think he will come.
Just throwing names around, okay, that makes it even difficult. Okay, for people to understand what you mean cannot be enough. He's a professor, for goodness sake, and I'm saying that is what you're saying. Okay, is anything to go by? I mean, how did the influence come about? If he says that Lord Commey is involved and I'm the main person, I'm sure he was in charge of all these things. He should know various concessions and their names and where it is cited and all those things. He should come again. And that is why I'm challenging him to come again.
I see, okay. but as director, as director of operations at the presidency, and you've been doing so for the past, since 2017, my memory serves me right. Hasn't there been any incident or occasion where somebody perhaps who wanted to genuinely do business or engage in mining, ever approach you to help him go through the process? Haven't we had any such incident?
I'm sure you heard that I told you that the president, in his own wisdom, decided that even as his director of operations and with an operation of this nature, he will not get me involved.
Yes,
so
but
I advised myself accordingly.
yes, but the point is,
I knew my man, and I knew how he knows me and how I know him.
no, but I
So
think the point I'm making is, for example, you are director of operations at the presidency. I mean, there's a way names work in Ghana. Maybe I am a local somewhere. I want to engage in mining. I know you are not a member of the committee, but you could know somebody who knows the committee. So you don't need to be a member of the committee to assist me to get a hearing with a member of the committee.
Well,
That doesn't matter.
as for people coming up with all sorts of requests and ways for you to help them, we receive them many times from all quarters.
So some of those requests certainly were on the issues of mining and securing concessions.
There have been many issues about mining when this whole operation started.
So
many. But then if you come to me with a request and I can't help you, I can't help you. And that is why I can tell you that Professor Frimpong Boateng, okay, I'm sure if I had called him, there will be the call log I can trace from wherever, whether it's MTN or Vodafone. I have told you, I stated categorically, if somebody comes to me for me to intervene, okay, which probably he would want to call it interference, I must have called him. I mean, and I'm saying that this is a man that I've never called him before in my life.
That point is well made.
And that's very serious. No, it's a serious point that you should take it serious.
I've noted it that you've never ever spoken to Professor Boateng in your life.
And therefore means that if somebody had come to me to say that, can you intervene in what? Okay, probably he's a person that I needed to speak to, and I'm saying that I have not spoken to him before. So I couldn't have called him on any, although I received many of these complaints and the situation that at times were messy at that time. Okay, at his own instance, I never bothered to call him. And I knew why I never bothered to call him. Because the president didn't add me to the committee, I decided on principle not to be part of it in any form or shape. And that is me.
Yeah, I get the point. But you see, yes, the point I'm also making to you is that you do not need to speak to him. Maybe you know what you were doing. If I want assistance, maybe a member of the committee was your friend. Maybe the secretary to the committee was your friend. So once you could get something done through the secretary or another member of the committee, you did not need to speak to somebody you've never spoken to in your life for you to start exchanging pleasantries, for you to start building trust, for the person to trust you and now begin to help you. So given your position and all that you've done in the party and in our politics, you are hugely influential and hugely popular. If you called up a member of the committee, one of your colleagues, maybe a minister, and told him that this friend of mine has this difficulty, what can you do for me? And that friend, knowing in you, also goes ahead to speak to the good old professor that this is Lord Commey's person, can we assist him? And the professor deems that to be you interfering in the process. I'm not sure it is enough to just say, because you've not spoken to him before, ever in your life, you could not have been said to have interfered in the process or supported illegal mining.
Well, I started by asking you to ask him to come again, okay, and then come with some clarity on what he means. And I'm sure that should answer your question. He's the one throwing those allegations around. And it's important. I cannot speak for him. I cannot defend what he's saying. He understands what he's saying, and I think it's important that he comes again. He should be able to clear himself and tell the good people of Ghana.
I'm sure that now that he's been invited by the
further and better particulars is necessary in this case.
Exactly so.
And therefore probably means that he will come back and say, well, Lord Commey didn't speak to me directly. He spoke to Kofi Mensah, and Kofi Mensah came and, I mean, those things also can be integrated.
I'm sure, yes.
It's important that I put it on record. Based on what he has just written, I think that is something that, well, but as I said, it's news, so certainly one has to state his case.
And then Lord Commey is newsy, so as Lord Commey is involved, you can be sure that the interest will be huge. But
absolutely, I think that it's important.
Yes, the other point
that I make that revealing statement.
Yes, that you've never spoken to him ever in your life. That is noted, and I'm sure from tomorrow. The headlines will be screaming that you've never spoken to him before.
I couldn't have asked him for any favor.
Yes,
for goodness sake.
That is clear. But I'm also saying that.
And if somebody had gone to him to say, Lord Commey said I should come and see you, then that must be a liar.
That is well. That's fine.
Because he could have contacted me back and said, but somebody is here with me. He says he's coming from your office. Blah 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 blah. We have not spoken before, and I think it's important I put it on record.
Very well. So we won't belabor that.
As he said, the president had asked the CID to delve into some allegations earlier on that he had made, and probably these are issues that he can add it on, and therefore we would all be invited, and certainly we would meet him there. If we meet him there and an interrogation, I'm sure there are bodies, institutions in this country who do these investigations and delve it out, and they will submit their reports. Otherwise, we meet in court, for goodness sake. His reputation as a professor, highly respected in this country. My reputation as a politician also in this country needs to be respected. You cannot just go around and be throwing names around without merit, without evidence, wild allegations, and just mentioning people's names after you had left office. What are we talking about?
No, but it's also
when we assign people jobs to do in this country.
It's also important to point out that this report is not new. It was authored close to 2 years ago, and it was authored on the order of the chief of staff. Indeed, that was the opening comment.
Have you guys even found out whether indeed this is a report that he had submitted to chief of staff?
No, we are reliably informed that it's been submitted. So that we can deal with that.
I'm sure you need to do your double checking, because as I said, a report 2021 or so, I am a staff of Jubilee House, up and down from ground floor to fourth floor, moving left, right, and center. No, I've never heard of any report, especially when it had my name in there.
But it's not every report. I'm sure when action is to be taken on the report, you will be called. I mean, I'm quite certain. I'm quite certain about that. And I'm also sure that once the CID is on this, and now that this report has come out,
when you have left office.
No, but the point is, he was asked, according to him, to provide a report after he left office, and these were his reflections, and these were things he thought, if looked at, could help the fight. So we'll leave that. They will work on it, not to believe that.
I can speak for myself.
Exactly. I get that.
Reiterate my position that I respect him. I have a lot of regard for him. On this matter of my involvement or my fronting or my interfering, I think he goofed.
Very well. But speaking about cross-checking and all of that, have you also tried to verify from him if indeed he authored this and the authenticity of same? I get the point that you've not spoken to him before, but there's always a first time. Have you tried to contact him to be sure that indeed this came from him and he meant what he said?
Why would I try contacting him when I'm told that he's the one who leaked a so-called report that you are reading to me and all that?
But why not? Your name is there, so why not? Just to be double sure as well.
Well, I'll respond appropriately like I'm doing.
Very well. So
I'm expecting that if he goes to CID and he mentions my name and proves. He provides the evidence. We'll all meet.
I see. So just before you go, your general thoughts on
the law will take its course.
Very well. Your general thoughts. Do you? I know I guess you've read the report. Reading the report, was so concerning to me. Do you get the impression after reading the report that we've lost the fight? As a people, the fight against Galamsey. You think we've lost?
I don't think we've lost the fight. People who were put in charge were the ones who failed.
There are over 10 ministers of state, cabinet ministers for that matter, failed.
What I'm saying, Professor Frimpong was the main man responsible. Okay? He was the main man responsible, of course, with some other aides, which is where other ministers come in. I'm saying that those that you put in charge, okay, should be held responsible, okay? Because, we are running an executive presidency in this country where the president, as one single individual, cannot be everywhere. That is why he appoints ministers. And that's why he appoints people like us, okay, with our jobs cut out for us. We should be able to be bold, courageous enough, and take up the responsibility. When we fail, we fail. And we accept the responsibility that we failed. This business of people running for cover and trying to blame everybody around them when things are not working well and good for them. Okay, people should be able to be bold and resign from positions. Okay, he has been there for God knows when. In the midst of all this, he didn't resign. Okay, he didn't, because he could have resigned to say, well, these things that are happening is beyond, Mr. President, take up your job. Okay, he sat down. We ended our first time. It so happens that his name was not mentioned again for the second time. Now you come back, and then all you do is to mention names and try to fault everybody except yourself. What are we talking about here? Okay, you fault everybody except yourself, and you think that he should be forgiven? For goodness sake, we cannot continue to run this country like this. Okay, and it is not about an NDC or an MPP matter. The structure of our constitution, the structure of our governance is such that presidents would continue forever appoint people to positions of trust.
Very well. Thanks so much.
And they should be held responsible.
Yes, thank you so much, Lord Commey, Director of Operations at the Presidency.
Grateful.
We're grateful for your time as well. And Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Your comments are coming in droves, and we'll be reading some of them to out to the rest of the world. In the meantime, you can join us via WhatsApp 0549986996. Other persons have also been responding to various portions of this report, portions that mention their names, and they've also sought to put their side of the story out. And so Samuel Afi is still here. Samuel, who else has been responding to this?
So the information minister, Kojo Oponkroma, has also been responding. His name came up in this whole report, and on the basis of the allegations made against him by Professor Kumawu and in the report, it says that on Saturday, the 8th of February 2020, Mr. Kojo Oponkroma, the Minister of Information, assembled a group of journalists from both the NDC and the MPP affiliated media house at the Forest Hotel in Dodowa to discuss a strategy to bring me, as in Professor Kumawu, down. Whilst they were there, journalists from among the group called a friend of mine, also a journalist, and informed him about the plot that was being hatched. He further informed my friend to watch out for headlines on some newspapers the days following the meeting. It says on Monday, 10th February 2020, the informal newspaper, whose editor was at the said meeting, had the banner headline on its front page, which reproduced below. And then he goes on and on and on. So today, the Information Minister, Kojo Oponkroma, came out strong to react to some of the things Professor Kumawu said about him. And in his 7-page statement in response, he says, I write to respond to allegations made against me by Professor Kumawu, former Minister of Environment, Science and Technology Innovation, and the former chair of the Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. Now, Selorm, these are Kojo Oponkroma's responses to what the minister said. He said, on Friday, 9th February 2020, I was invited to Dodowa as guest of honor to a Pink Pack event jointly organized with the Bank of Ghana on financial reporting. This event was not secret. It was widely promoted on media platforms and my personal social media handles as well. It was a workshop to train journalists on how to understand and deepen their reportage on financial matters in Ghana. The event had nothing to do with fight against Galamsey, not even remotely. As customary with such events, I was received by organizers and protocol officers openly at the arrival ceremony, ushered into the event hall openly, invited to deliver my remarks openly, and escorted for a group photograph afterwards openly. My exit from the event and a reportage of my remarks were also done openly. Neither the anti-Galamsey fight nor Professor Kumawu were matters for consideration at this BOG Pink Pack meeting. How the former minister thinks this event into a secret strategic enclave with his downfall as the objective is completely beyond my imagination. The people who took part in this particular event from the Bank of Ghana and Pink Pack will be shocked and saddened to read the claims of such an otherwise highly held individual or man in this country. So could you also give out the post he made on Facebook after this particular event and the pictures that followed this particular
So his point essentially was I could not have been a secret meeting at the Dodowa Forest Hotel because the event was well publicized and it was an event organized by Pink Pack and the Bank of Ghana. So it was not an event to discuss anti-Galamsey, Frimpong Boateng, or anybody at all. That was
definitely
very well. So other persons who have been speaking, one of such persons is Gabby Otchere-Darko, who is a well-known politician and media media owner and then a legal practitioner. Professor Frimpong Boateng did not spare him to. In portions of the report, at least in the opening pages, he went straight for him and said that what saddened me most was when Mr. Gabby Otchere-Darko called to defend a company that was actively destroying the environment, especially the forest and river of Fin in the Apa Prama and Kobro forest. He now takes his time to delve into what he meant by Gabby Otchere-Darko calling him to plead or to get him to release excavators he sees belonging to a company. Gabby Otchere-Darko has been speaking on this. You have an extensive interview with him on this. We will play back that interview to you. First of all, we will tell you what the report specifically said about his alleged involvement in the Galamsey fight and what he's also been saying in response to his so-called role as legal counsel for a company. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Don't go away.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You know your papa see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, papa!
Bobo, so how your engine now?
It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you. Can't feel better energy. Can't touch this. Actually, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that? Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz. And he switched. Sancho Panza. Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz? No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer. Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency. Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman. Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
Using a condom will protect you and your partner from HIV, STIs, and unplanned pregnancy. Condoms are an effective way for protection against HIV infection. Don't take risks. Use a condom every time. Always come prepared.
This advert is brought to you by the Ghana AIDS Commission and Ghana Health Service.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are discussing the report on the work of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, authored by Professor Frimpong Boateng, which has stated or named some persons allegedly who interfered, in his words, in the work of the committee. So some of your messages that have been coming through, this one from Kojo in East Legon says, no matter how hard anyone tries to whitewash Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, we all know, and it's been rumored for a long time, that high-ranking members of government are neck-deep in illegal mining, especially folks from the Jubilee House. This is just a confirmation of what we already know. Alex Kofi Rani in Adenta Commando's research says we've lost it completely following the huge expose on the high level of complicity in the so-called people of influence in power. Zalex Dwayne, this illegal mining fight has a long way to go, and it's egregious, as Alex Dwayne says. Alan in Chantan says, may the good people of this country be reminded that the power to reclaim the land lies in their hands. Oh my God. Daniel Akpaliok from Sanama says, a country where politicians eat from hypocrisy, bath from sycophancy, and drink from bribery and corruption certainly cannot win a fight against Galamsey. The fight against illegal mining can only be won if government can stop pretending blame games or stop playing blame games and rhetorics, but we make real and serious commitment to prosecute people. James Torjenin Tema says, good evening, Selorm. We are not surprised at the content of this report. People are caught on camera and they still deny. I'm not expecting any of those cited to accept the report. Ghana is bleeding because of bad leadership. God help us. So before the break, I was talking about Gabby Otchere-Darko and how it was cited in the report. Let me start from here. In that paragraph, it says, using satellite imagery, we have followed the activities of imperial heritage over the years till date. The damage caused in the forest is many times greater than what happened in Diasu. We were ready to dislodge imperial heritage from Kobro forest when Mr. Gabby Otchere-Darko called to inform me that he was the lawyer for Heritage Imperial Limited, a company that was destroying the Kobro and Apaprama forest reserves, and in the process had also polluted diverted the course of the River Ofin, as can be seen in the satellite images below. Of course, he attaches satellite images, to the report. I informed the president about the behavior of Mr. Gabby Otchere-Darko, and he promised to deal with it. That's what he said about Gabby Otchere-Darko, apart from the statement he made in the opening pages. So what really is Gabby Otchere-Darko's response to this allegation? Gabby's been speaking to us. Let's hear him.
So I'm here with Gabby Otchere-Darko. I'm here with him because his name has been cited in that report that was presented by Professor Frimpong Boateng to the Chief of Staff on issues around illegal mining, Galamsey, during his tenure, and some of the challenges he faced and people who he says interfered with his work. Now, Gabby's name has popped up twice in that report. So I'm going to seek his thoughts on some of the allegations made against him. So let me start with the first part and read it quickly, then we start. It says, despite the fact that Cabinet directed the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to suspend the issuance of all new license permits by the Forestry Commission and also to suspend the licenses already issued for operation in 47 forestry reserves, the directives were ignored and the distraction continued. Worse still, soldiers had officially been withdrawn from mining sites, but in many areas, regular Ghana Army personnel were seen providing security at illegal mining sites. Now, what saddened me most was when Mr. Gabby Otchere-Darko called to defend a company that was actively destroying the environment, especially the forests and River Ofin in the Apaprama and Krobo forest. Then it says, yes, we were ready to dislodge imperial heritage from Krobo Forest when Mr. Gabby Otchere-Darko called to inform me that he was the lawyer for Heritage Imperial Limited, a company that was destroying the Krobo and Apaprama forest reserves, and in the process had also polluted and diverted the course of the River Ofin, as can be seen in the satellite images below. I informed the president about the behavior of Mr. Gabby Otchere-Darko, and he promised to deal with it. Are you lawyers for Heritage?
It's very unprofessional of a minister to personalize an issue such as that. Very unprofessional to drop a name on a matter that was purely about a lawyer asking questions about his client. Heritage happens to be a client to one of the lawyers at my firm, Adam. And Heritage had a prospecting license issued on 25th October 2018, okay, which was to expire October 2021. I believe what the minister is referring to happened after this. I think it was in 2019 or 2020. I can't recollect, but probably he has the date. They had a mining exploration operating permit issued 18th July 2019. They had a forest entry permit issued 12 November 2018, and also an EPA permit. My lawyer comes to me and says that his client with all these permits and licenses, goes on site with equipment to do prospecting, and the soldiers have come to seize the equipment. Okay? Now, what do you do as a lawyer? The first thing I did was I asked, but are they with your people? Said yes. So I spoke to the.
So you called the soldiers first?
Yes.
Okay.
To ask what really was going on. And then they said that they were acting on the instructions of the minister. So I called the minister for clarification. Clarification in the sense that I have a client who has all the documents or permits and licenses required to do prospecting. Everything. And he goes on site, and then soldiers come to basically not just stop them from working, but to seize all the equipment. So I asked the minister, but they have permits, so what really, I want to understand the issue. And then the minister fires back and says, they are not prospecting, they are mining. And I said, but minister, the information I have is that they took the equipment on that side today. So I want to be educated. Are the equipment for prospecting different from those that you need to mine? He couldn't answer. And I asked the technical people. They said, no, they're the same equipment. I said, so, I mean, they've just going on site today. So how can you? Said, oh, well, they shouldn't have been given the permit to enter the forest. I said, well, I mean, are you challenging the permit as fake? He said, no, but it shouldn't have been issued. I said, yeah, but that's a different matter. But I just want to understand really what the issues are. Is it that, so essentially, he gave me his side of the story, which is that he believes that what they were doing was mining, not prospecting, even though they had just gone on site. And that was the conversation that we had.
So what happened after that? Did you then tell him to let the people continue with the work? What kind of intervention did you make?
My intervention was to understand why a company, a legitimate company, with all the licenses and permits required to do prospecting, was being stopped from doing their work. And that's what lawyers we do.
But in this case, they were in a forest reserve, and per the rules around the illegal mining thing, people in the reserves, particular reserves, were supposed to halt operations. How different is this?
There was no issue about halting operations. It was an issue of being issued a forest entry permit. And they entered the mining concession after they were issued all the permits. So even if there was an issue, then it is an issue between the regulatory bodies. Okay? I mean, I wasn't even, if you like, it's not my brief, as it were, but it's because their job was being frustrated. And I had before me all the documents that they required to do legitimate mining, and they were being frustrated. That is why I placed the call, to understand why that was happening to them. I'm very disappointed in the minister deliberately, because that's all I can say, deliberately twisting an inquiry by a lawyer of a client's issue to be an interference. And the thing is, this is a phone call that lasted maybe 3-4 minutes. And he said, it ended by saying, look, they shouldn't have been issued the license in the first place. So that's when we ended the conversation. So I went back to ask the question. I said, no, the Forestry Commission that issued us this license. And for me, that was the end of the matter for me, in terms of my dealings with this matter. My lawyer took it up, and it was resolved.
But to the extent that, I mean, whether you want to admit it or not, most people know that you have some clout, you're influential, yeah, and all that with regards to government and all that. You calling the minister, it's not out of place for him to feel that you're interfering based on this background.
Let the minister come and tell me that when I called him, I instructed him, in inverted commas, to do what was not right. Let the minister come and say that when I called him, I was pushing an illegitimate point. Let the minister come and say so. If you read, has he said anything like that? All he said, because my point, I based my intervention on the legality of what my clients were doing and what I saw to be the illegitimate action of the state against a company that the same state had issued permits and licenses to undertake its business legitimately.
In this report, he says he told the president about what you had done, and the president said he would deal with the matter. Did the president ever call you or speak to you on this particular matter?
But it even tells you how weak the minister's understanding of his position is. If what I did was illegitimate, why don't you take the right action? He's going to report me to the minister as if he's a teacher, and the president is a master, and I'm what? A school prefect, and I've done something wrong. I mean, what kind of silliness is this? I mean, I don't even want to comment on that. That he reported me to the president. For the president to do what?
Call you to order.
The president is a lawyer. The president is a lawyer. And he knows that lawyers are supposed to what? To protect the legitimate business of their clients. So why would the president call me on a matter like this? Why would he even go to the president to complain? Because it's not as if he was going to say that when he got the soldiers to freeze or stop the people from working, I went to give a counter instructions to the soldiers. And the soldiers, ignored his and took mine. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You're calling him, asking questions, snooping around. Isn't that interference, Gabby?
No, but really, isn't it what you do?
My job is to snoop around, get information, all that.
And my job is not to protect the right of my client.
I think I can't speak for him, but you think the issue to do with Gabby as a person, not as a lawyer.
But I'm saying that when I called him, and he is in his report, I told him that I'm a lawyer for the company. If they have all the permits issued legitimately by the state entities that are supposed to issue the permits and licenses, if they are working, then you, the minister, you have no right to interfere.
But
that's what he did.
Yeah, but he found out.
What he did is rather what I saw to be interference, not me intervening on behalf of my client.
So he found out along the line that what they were doing, they were in a reserve they shouldn't be. He has a right to speak to the regulators to stop their work or get the work to be stopped whilst investigations start, because obviously that permit wasn't issued under his regime as well.
But he was what? In charge of what? Science and environment? And there was an EPA permit. It's not under him. It is under him. EPA permit that was issued. I can show you a copy of the EPA permit. Is that not under him? Good. There was a forest permit, entry permit. It was not under him, but it was under a commission that is a constitutional body. Okay? All right. So really, if I call him to understand the basis of the action he had taken, and yes, I mean, I'm able to call him because I have to protect the interests of my client. And if I called him because I felt that he was acting ultra vires, outside of his powers, I'm the one who is in the wrong?
What happened to your company in the end, your clients? What happened to them?
In terms of when the truth was established that they were doing things legitimately, what were due them, which they could retrieve if they got them back.
So they've left, they're no more mining there?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, so you had that interview with Gabby Otchere-Darko, whose name has been mentioned in the Frimpong Boateng report. She was speaking to City News editor Vivian Kai, local Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. A number of more reactions keep coming. This appears to be the biggest story. Actually is the biggest story in the country today. My colleague Sami Yaf is still with me. Sami, what other reaction do we have?
So when Professor Frimpong Boateng accused some individuals in the Jubilee House, apart from Lord Commey, he also mentioned the name of Charles Nitete-Tego, who is a presidential staffer. He has also issued a statement to clear his name on this particular matter. And he says, Selorm, with your permission, I read, I wish to address recent media reports attempting to link me to illegal mining activity, popularly known as Galamsey. These reports are based on a statement made by Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, the former chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. Let me state that I have no involvement in Galamsey. In 2019, I spoke to Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng regarding an excavator being transported on a low-bed vehicle on a highway. He requested details and I provided the information. However, I did not follow up on the request and I have no knowledge as to what happened with this particular excavator. It is unfortunate that Professor Frimpong Boateng will make comments about me in his report. I want to make it clear that I have nothing to do with illegal mining. I urge the media and the public to disregard the portions of the report that pertains to me and treat it with the contempt it deserves. I believe in the rule of law and I'm committed to supporting efforts to clamp down on illegal mining activities in the country. I remain committed to Ghana's development as well as the well-being of its citizens. Thank you. Signed, Charles Nitete-Tego.
All right. Thank you so much, Sami Yaf. We, of course, obviously expect that more reactions will come in. This matter will not end today. A lot more persons will respond. Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. It's time for City Business News, and now Shika has the latest in the world of business.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Eid Mubarak, breaking the fast. So take what you need fast from Toshiba and Media and Toshiba Eid Mubarak promotion.
Assalamu alaikum, assalam.
599 Ghana cedis is for a Toshiba standing fan forever. 849 Ghana cedis at Toshiba microwave. Get a Media tabletop fridge, 1,999. It is necessary. At Toshiba Fridge, this Eid Mubarak will take care of your friends and family and cool everybody down. Media chest freezer, top low 4-burner gas stove, grill, and solo microwave. Your top class Toshiba and Media showing love this Eid Mubarak. Call 0242 439 437.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. City Business News. Be informed.
Time now for City Business News on Eyewitness News, powered by citybusinessnews.com. My name is Nashika Caesar. Let's settle for the details. The former chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, Dr. Steve Manteo, has called on the government to prioritize the usage of the country's petroleum revenue by financing renewable energy transition. This comes on the back of the 2022 annual PIAC report, which revealed that crude oil production in the country has declined for 3 consecutive years at an average of about 10%, dropping from about 71 million barrels to approximately 21 million barrels over the period. Speaking during the launch of the report, Dr. Manteo stressed the need to invest in renewable energy options to ensure energy security in the country in the long term.
It also has implications for sustainability of energy, in the sense that there's a new race. The world is moving away from fossil fuel. The president of Shell has made the point that they are going to continue producing fossil fuel for some time because they need the revenues to finance their transition into renewable energy. We are a developing country, and when the investments do not come in, we'll have no way than to borrow to finance our energy transition. So the suggestion I make to PIAC is to consider perhaps recommending to government to begin to reprioritize our spending areas. This is the time. The signs are there. We know the revenues are declining, and sooner than later, we'll have no revenues coming from the petroleum sector. So we need to begin to prioritize how we use our petroleum revenues, and much of it should go into financing energy transition, renewable energy.
That was the former chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, Dr. Steve Mantiel. Now, an economist, Professor Lord Mensah, is predicting that more banks operating in the country will fold up due to the unfriendly business environment in the country. The economist was speaking on the back of news that Nigerian-owned bank GT Bank will slow down lending and bond trading in Ghana following a $77 million loss. The bank further stated that it will rather focus on other high-yielding African markets to boost lending by 15% in 2023. Ghana's banking sector is struggling due to the restructuring of most of the country's public debt worth $49 billion. Speaking to Citi Business News on the issue, Professor Lord Mensah said more banks are likely to follow in the steps of the GT Bank.
When your inflation is going up and your interest rates are so high, they are all economic red flags. The person is coming to borrow at a higher cost. And then by the time the person produces and then finish selling his goods and tend to make up a new input, prices have gone up as a result of inflation. So the business will not have that kind of stability. It will have impact on business. And as a bank, you will not lend to a business that is not generating profit at all. Even if it's generating profit, the profit must be stable for you to take a decision on such businesses. It tells you that they have sent some signal and they are not happy with government bond. And of course, anytime government shows a signal of default, this is what is expected. Because the banks are also taking people's deposits and then investing the deposits on behalf of the people. So if it turns out that what they are doing is not yielding as much, they will have a long run, reduction on their profit. And so if you have a competitive environment that can provide very good bonds which are stable, they will move to, that place. So it's a typical business. Other banks will do the same. In a business sense, anytime there is an exposure in an environment that you are operating, you tend to reduce your investment.
That was Professor Lord Mensah, who is an economist, speaking there. And that's it for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News, which was powered by your most comprehensive business website, citibusinessnews.com. My name is Nashika Caesar. Up next is Point Blank.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You Papa see that? And it's rickety car. Hey, Papa! Papa!
Bobo, so how your engine now?
It is half man, half amazing. Thanks to Quartz and you can feel better energy.
Can't touch this. Charlie, guys, so Sancho's engine just died like that?
Yes, so somebody managed to convince him that there is a better engine oil than Quartz, and he switched. Sancho Panza.
Now, which engine oil can be better than Quartz?
No other, my guy. Quartz with its age-resistant technology, it keeps your engine younger for longer.
Now you know. Have you guys seen the new bottle design? It's superb. Quartz 9000 from Total Energies there improves fuel efficiency.
Why do you think Mr. Mane and Logoso have taken the Quartz Nation movement World Cup like that? Sorry. Chairman Mane. Chairman. Hey,
Quartz. Keep your engine younger for longer.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News. On Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3. Twitter at twitter.com/City973. And Instagram at instagram.com/City973. With the hashtag Eyewitness News.
News. Be there as it happens.
Witness News. This is Point Blank this is a Point Blank segment on Eyewitness News. You're welcome back to the program. Minutes to the top of the hour. I must say that later in the bulletin, we'll cross over to the sports team. Us live coverage or live commentary on the match between league leaders Arsenal and Southampton. But in the meantime, the NDC has been speaking about the police. If you recall, the police recently issued a statement on the meeting they held between the NDC and the MPP about the recent petitions sent to the IGP in respect of some comments deemed incendiary by many people, by leading figures in both parties. That was actually triggered by the speech or statement by Brian Champon. The IGP in his wisdom thought he would call the two parties together, so they fashioned their way forward. Now the NDC, following the police report, said a few things. We've been joined on the line by the Deputy General Secretary of the party, Mustafa Bandi, to help us appreciate really why they had to issue the statement. Hello, Mustafa. Welcome to Point Blank.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, just to find out, were you at this meeting between the NDC or the meeting the IGP held between the NDC and the MPP?
Not at all, but I've got a briefing from my bosses who both attended the meeting with our National Communication Officer, Family, and a briefing was given to us, so we are quite abreast to it.
I noticed from your statement that you confirm indeed the invitation by the IGP to the leadership of the NDC, and indeed you participated in that meeting with what you call the top brass of the Ghana Police Service. You also said that the discussions were quite cordial, and you were forthright in pointing to the police where you thought they were not doing well, amongst other things. But why did you have to issue this statement yourself?
Thank you very much. I think that basically, as stated, it's commendable to have an IGP who believes that it's important to summon a meeting with the very powerful political parties in this country. It's very commendable. Number two, the statement was issued to make it abundantly clear that without nothing to add, the NDC stands very different from the outcome of the meeting on certain critical issues that we believe that the police could have taken action which they have failed to do so. That includes the investigation leading to the killing of people in the 2020 election. We believe that these killings were not done by civilians, or if you call people from the MPP, they were done by merely forces and security officials who were deployed. And we all know that one of the mandate of the police is to protect, one, citizens who go to places to cast their vote, two, protect election officers. And so if for whatever reason lives have been lost it should keep the police busy to investigate and by now give Ghanaians some hope that we truly have a robust, strong police service. Number two, if you recall the issues that ensued in Cape Coast, where we are yet ourselves to come to terms how that clash occurred. To the largest extent, people believe that it was an orchestration from the NPP to stage that attack so that they could use that opportunity to go after our boys. Now, you saw that one of them was arrested and he said he was tortured whilst in police custody. A complaint was made, it was lodged to the IGP. He should give us some information about that. Then another guy who was killed or who was tortured in Wenchi during the registration. All these issues, including the murder of one outstanding MP of the MPP who is in government today. They have failed to do investigations on all of these issues. We believe that that should be where the police should focus their energy on. Now, coming back to the meeting itself, my personal opinion is that Brian Achampong made a statement. We have not commanded men to go and catch him and teach him some lessons. We have been law-abiding, lodged a complaint to the police. One of the first things the police ought to do is to invite the individual, take his statement, and then do an investigation. So when all this is done, and the IGP seems to endorse a mediation of these level of crime by calling a meeting of political parties and stating that he has established a theater of examination and that a comment didn't have what it takes to be a criminal comment. It is not his place. He does not have the authority. He does not have the power to do so. The body to determine that is the court.
Very well, but the police will have to start the investigations and start the prosecution. Indeed, the court. If I could just, the police will take the matter to court with their facts and law and everything to argue for the judge to make a determination. But they are saying that they cannot, establish a prima facie case based on the comments. So they really have to establish that, so they have confidence in their own case before they go to court. So I'm not sure saying that they could not. Or the comment did not meet that threshold. I'm not sure that's out of place. The comment, they must be sure, breaches a certain law before they go to court. They are saying that it did not meet that threshold.
First of all, my issue has to do with the position of the law, that every person is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. So therefore, when an action is reported to the police, how did the police examine the conduct, the issues, to establish that it didn't meet a threshold when they didn't invite the person involved? Then in another case, if the same threshold examination theater exists, did they have to take the Swami Youth Organizer of the NDC through that same threshold? What they did was to invite him, and we presented him to the police. Then the police began an investigation. So to determine whether a certain conduct meets the threshold of a criminality for the police to be able to investigate, you must first invite the person. The police cannot pronounce Brian Achampong guilty or not guilty until you investigate his comment. You can't do that until you have invited him. Did they invite Brian Achampong? But yet they invited the Swami Youth Organizer, who is a very young man. He is not a government official, who lacks even the capacity to execute the things that he has said. We are not talking about a mean person, even though we are not scared of him. We are talking about a man who had access to internal security apparatus, a man who was a minister of state in charge of national security, a cabinet minister. So therefore, we are saying that his comment, one, is a declaration of the intention of government, that they will hand over power. Two, they will use other sources to deal with that. Mind you, there is a document prepared by the cabinet of Akufo-Addo stating that they will develop mechanisms to try and neutralize the effect of other political parties, particularly the NDC, and they will use Brana Champon for that work. The document came out. Brana Champon never denied. The MPP government never denied the authenticity of that document. So if you look at the turnout of events, one, he communicated the intention of government. So does it mean that the IGP is scared of individuals who are in government when they have made comments that are very inflammatory and criminal in nature?
Very well. Let's do it. Let's do it. Another. Yes, I think that point is one way. Let's do it. Another part of the statement. The police said that they have established, a task force for election matters, and contrary to what happened in the past, this time the task force has been established to deal with all election-related matters. Not as if few months or 1 year to election, then they will establish the task force. It's been nice, a standing or permanent task force. That certainly should be some good news.
My brother, we have seen IGPs come and go. Much as we commend this IGP, a young man, very brilliant, very intelligent, very forceful, it is not the business of IGP to begin to classify how to deal with crimes other than the threshold established by law. The mechanisms are that crime is crime. There is no small crime. There's no big crime. There's no crime committed by a civilian. There's no crime committed by a politician. Every crime is a crime. So therefore, if anybody from the NDC goes and slaps somebody, the police duty is to pick the person. If anybody from the MPP goes and slaps somebody, the police, upon a complaint being made, have to pick up the person to face the law.
Very well.
So when you go and establish a cabinet, as if we are dealing with a palace, to try and know whether Mustafa has made a comment, whether it meets a threshold, and for me to begin investigation and all of that, and then you are establishing a legal department to it is not his place.
I was actually talking about the task force. But that's fine. I think.
Do what?
I think
there have been a lot of. That's why we are holding that. There are a lot of political crimes that have already been committed. The IGP and his task force should be busy dealing with that crime. The assurance we need from him is that 2024, looking at what has happened before, the deployment of a police officer to a police station should go to be busy protecting citizens who have gone to cast their vote.
Very well.
As a right of the Constitution. Two, should go there and protect EC officials and should not go there and become politicians. That is what we have seen in the past.
Very well.
The IGP should be busy dealing with his entity of the police to make sure that he are not used for works that are not within the mandate of the police service.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my friend Mustafa Bandi, NDC Deputy General Secretary, for speaking to us on this. I'm sure there'll be more time to interrogate your statement properly. This is Point Blank on Eyewitness News. Now we move to Kumawu, where the MPP is billed to have its constituency primaries to elect a candidate for the Kumawu by-election. If you recall, as you may well know by now, the MP for the area, the Honorable Philip Basua, died a couple of weeks ago, and as is required by law, a by-election must be held to fill that position in Parliament. So the Shanti Regional Secretary of the party, Adonoo, is joining me to help us appreciate what the preparations have been so far ahead of the elections. Good evening, sir. Welcome to Point Blank. Can you confirm to us that two persons who picked forms to contest have withdrawn from the race?
Good evening, sir. Before I answer to that question, why Mr. Mustafa, I think he should have also requested the police to invite Mr. Mama as well. Then let me go to my question.
Very well.
It's not true. Now we have 3 people who have withdrawn their candidature.
Hello?
Mr. Honorable Yao, former MP, has also withdrawn from the race. So now we have...
Yes, hello. Are you there?
Yeah, okay, hello.
Yes.
I'm saying that as at today, we have 3 persons who have withdrawn their candidature from the race.
3 persons.
Yeah, Mr. Yaba has joined Dr. Felebano and lawyer Edward Osei. So now, effectively, only 5 persons are contesting.
I see. Any reason why they opted out of the race?
Oh, I cannot say definitely. Mr. Yaba is giving a reason. But lawyer Edward Osei held a press conference about 48 hours ago and stated why he's opting out of the race. It has to do with documentation, and I don't want to go further than that.
But was it cleared by the vetting committee, or given the circumstances that surrounded his vetting, he found it necessary to withdraw himself? Or is it a way of saying that maybe he did not pass the vetting? I mean, did the vetting committee clear him?
Everybody was given the chance to go ahead, except me, lawyer Edward Osei and Dr. Filibano, who sought leave to produce further and better particulars. But before the deadline could arrive, they've all withdrawn their candidature.
I see. So their withdrawal was born out of the circumstances that occurred at the vetting.
Yeah, at the vetting, the vetting committee wanted to know things to be sure their right position, and they sought leave to furnish the committee with further. In the course of waiting, they themselves came up that they are no more right.
I see. Tell us about preparations for Sunday. Security preparations. You know, are we going to have instances where delegates are camped, as we've seen in the past? You know, what are you doing against candidates camping delegates at various places? You know, talk to us about preparations generally for Sunday. Hello? Hello? It does appear that we've lost Mr. Adonoo Appiah, MPP Secretary for the Ashanti region. Unfortunately, we can't go back to him, as we'll have to cross over to the sports team, the City sports team, for the live commentary on that game between Arsenal and Southampton being played at that will be played at the Emirates Stadium. And the sports team is just joining me right now. Pichichi and Susu Graham and a few others are just about joining me to help us cross over to the Emirates Stadium for that match between Arsenal, league leaders, and then Southampton, who are actually struggling. Do I say struggling for relegation? They're actually somewhere close to the bottom of the table. And as you can see on the screen, Gabriel Jesus is leading the attack. The usual suspects, I mean, Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, Partey. And this time we have Fabio Vieira, I'm sure, coming in for Saka. Ben White is there. Rob Holding means that William Saliba is still out. Gabriel is there. And then Zinchenko. Zinchenko is returned. And then Ramsdale, I mean, that's the lineup for Arsenal. So, Pichichi, I mean, interesting game. Arsenal are league leaders, but it appears that Man City is chasing them with so much verve and activity. I saw a post or a picture recently, you know, which said that images in the mirror are actually closer than you think. All right, so what are we to expect tonight?
Exactly. It's a huge chance for Arsenal tonight. They have currently a 4-point advantage over second place Manchester City. So this is a huge chance for them to make it 7 points before they face Man City next Wednesday. That's a huge one at the Etihad Sports Stadium. So basically, it's a chance for us now to increase that point gap between themselves and Man City before they face each other on Wednesday. So that's the covered, the featured game tonight. It's a huge game for the team. And the lineup is out as well. Thomas Partey starts for Arsenal. But the big story is that there's no Granit Xhaka for Arsenal. He's out because of illness.
Oh, he's ill.
Nonetheless, Arsenal need to get back to winning ways. They've lost 4 points in their last 2 games. They lead 2-0. then they lose that advantage. Let's see how they bounce back from that.
All right, so we'll be listening to you and the team from the UK in the live commentary. So, Pichichi, thanks so much.